Hey everybody, it's Matt Mayoko at NBC Sports Bay Area, checking in after the 49ers get trounced by the Green Bay Packers 38-10. Going to have that full rundown. But first, this is brought to you by Canyon Club Brewery, restaurant, beer garden, all in a very family-friendly atmosphere in Moraga. They have a great menu of beer, a lot of different varieties of beer, as well as a very nice menu as well. Family friendly, bring the family, bring the dog, sit up by the fire pits, do all that great stuff. Canyon Club Brewery. Hope to see you there real soon. It's one of my go-to spots, and it's coming soon to the Livery in Danville. So it'll be a fantastic space there in Danville. I know I will make it part of my very regular rotation. Okay, so where to start with this one? Let's start off with all the positives for the 49ers. Okay, that sums that up. And now let's just get to the cold, hard facts here. The 49ers got just absolutely embarrassed. In fact, that was a word that Kyle Shanahan used in his post-game press conference. Usually you don't hear coaches or players use that word. So I think it kind of shows you how this team just did not come to play. Yes, Brock Purdy wasn't out there. Yes, Nick Bosa wasn't out there. Yes, Trent Williams wasn't out there, but that's no excuse for how the 49ers played in this game. They looked ill prepared for this game. I would say, especially with the run defense, they tightened things up a little bit. They made the adjustments, but who's to be held accountable for this 49ers loss? I'd say all of the above, starting, of course, with Kyle Shanahan, the head coach. It seems like it's just the same mistakes over and over and over. Last couple of weeks, it's been the penalties. Defensively, I don't think they were well prepared to face that Packers running game with Josh Jacobs. So, Nick Sorensen, it's been a rough first year for him as a defensive coordinator, and I guess it remains to be seen whether he will get another year as defensive coordinator. So, that special teams stunk. In the passing game, the 49ers had three turnovers. One ball slipped out of Brandon Allen's hands for a fumble. He had a pass to Deebo Samuel that went through Deebo Samuel's hands and ended up as an interception for Xavier McKinney. And then Christian McCaffrey caught a pass and fumbled at the end of the game. So I would say, quite honestly, on the list of things that went wrong for the 49ers, actually Brandon Allen is kind of far down that list. I thought he played okay. He didn't crush it by any stretch, but he had an okay game. He did about what the 49ers were expecting him to do, which was, he gave his playmakers an opportunity, and the 49ers big time stars simply did not come through in this game. So Brandon Allen's stat line, 17 of 29 for 199 yards, one touchdown, and the one interception that I referenced. Brock Purdy was on the sideline during the game, helping Brandon Allen. But the idea is that they 49ers believe that Brock Purdy will have an opportunity to play Sunday against the Buffalo Bills. Of course, a week ago, they thought that he would be in line to play against the Packers, but that right shoulder soreness never got better. Brandon Allen took all the first team reps, so he was the guy who got the start. 49ers are also hopeful that Nick Bosa will be available to face the Bills and that Trent Williams can come back. I think it was kind of close for Trent Williams, but ultimately they decided to roll with Jalen Moore at left tackle. And so when you look at the 49ers schedule, their most difficult game on paper is coming up, and that's against the Buffalo Bills, traveling for the second week in a row. Bills coming off their bye week. This was going to be the game, or this should have been the game that the 49ers thought that they could win going to Green Bay, but obviously they had an incredibly poor first half as they missed so many tackles. The defensive execution was just severely lacking in this one. The offense couldn't get anything going at all, especially on the ground. Josh Jacobs and the Packers, they rushed for 125 yards in the first half. The 49ers had 3 yards rushing in this game. And Christian McCaffrey, another unproductive day for him on the ground. 11 carries, 31 yards. Jordan Mason got in, and his first carry was for 16 yards. And, I know a lot of people have been wondering why can't they find a way to get Jordan Mason on the field, get the ball in his hands. He was one of the leading rushers in the NFL during the 8 games that McCaffrey missed. But since McCaffrey's come back, it's been the Christian McCaffrey show. He's basically on the field for every play. 90% of the snaps he's out there. Mason had 16 yards on his first carry, and then he finished with 8 yards because his next two carries lost a total of 8 yards. But, I can't say I'm surprised that the 49ers are going so heavy with Christian McCaffrey because he was the NFL Offensive Player of the Year last season. And so you knew that if he was healthy or he was cleared to play, that the 49ers were going to roll with him. And that's exactly what they have. So, could they do some sort of not necessarily backs by committee, but find a way to get Mason on the field? Absolutely, they can. But to this point, they haven't. And I think they felt like when McCaffrey came back, a lot of the 49ers offensive problems, especially red zone, would be solved. McCaffrey led the NFL in red zone touchdowns last season, but through 3 games, Christian McCaffrey, who has been an absolute touchdown making machine with the 49ers since he came to the team, he's been kept out of the end zone altogether. So a lot to discuss in this game. Special teams was bad again. Uh, Deebo Samuel gave the 49ers a spark, it looked like, with an 87-yard touchdown return, not touchdown, kickoff return to open the second half. He was tackled at the 5-yard line, but Eric Saubert had a penalty that brought it all the way back. 49ers at that point were only down by 10. They did string together a couple of first downs, but then they had a fourth down attempt that failed, so they gave the ball right back to the Packers. 49ers also had 2 other penalties on special teams on punt returns, 2 holding penalties, one on George Odom, one on Nick McLeod. Okay, so special teams was bad. Talked about the coaching part of it, not fixing those mistakes. Another coaching part of it was something I think I've never seen before: back-to-back 12 men on the field penalties. Kyle Shanahan was furious at Craig Rolstad, the referee, for not allowing them to substitute like a team is supposed to be able to substitute defensively whenever the offense has a change in personnel. But the 49ers were caught trying to get their 12th man off the field. He was still on the field when the play was snapped, so it was a free play, and Jordan Love ended up throwing an interception in the end zone to Malik Mustafa, but that was nullified. And then on the very next play, I think the 49ers were just kind of discombobulated at that point, and the play was whistled dead before the snap because the 49ers had 12 guys on the field at that point. And at that point in the game, it almost seemed like that would have been the most fair way to handle this. Just have the 49ers have them have 12 guys on the field, offense and defense. But they did make a little bit of a run to get back in it, but ultimately Packers just pulled away. Packers dominated this game on the ground. 49ers had an opportunity to come up with some takeaways. Jordan Love, who has been a guy who's thrown a lot of interceptions, last 9 games, he had an interception, and it wasn't for lack of trying. He put a few balls on the hands of 49ers defensive backs, but the 49ers just couldn't come up with the interception. Deebo Samuel had, on the other side, had a couple passes slip through his hands, including that interception. Just all in all, an atrocious game for the 49ers as they fall to 5-6 on the year. I think, the rest of the day, as far as the game that was going on at the same time, the Arizona Cardinals, who entered the day with a 1-game lead on the other teams in the NFC West, they lose to Seattle, but the 49ers can't take advantage of it to move into a tie for first place. So that's where the 49ers are. A lot of questions on this team, where it goes from here. Do they have it in them? They haven't shown that ability to show any kind of consistency other than bad consistency. And so right now they're very, very clearly on the outside of the playoff picture. And frankly, they haven't looked like a playoff team at all at any point really this season. Maybe week 1 when they showed some things offensively, strung together 8 straight scoring drives. The defense played pretty well in that game, but they just haven't been able to show anything. And where the team goes from here, we will see. Final 6 weeks of the season. Um, this is certainly a season for the 49ers have landed far, far below expectations. A team that expected, I'd say, to get back to the Super Bowl. Right now, they look as far away from a playoff team, a Super Bowl team, as you can possibly imagine, as nothing is going right. I mean, basically, F's across the board from me, specifically overall coaching. A lot of things have gone wrong with the 49ers, and you kind of see it on the faces and the body language. Fred Warner, very disappointed because he's been one of the advocates of this team. Like, hey, the answers are in the building. Well, right now, none of the answers are leading toward any kind of 49ers consistency, and certainly no victories. So usually I do these post game uh, videos on the field, but I'm doing it inside the visiting team press room here at Lambeau Field. The weather was cold. The 49ers performance was even colder. So that is it from Green Bay, Wisconsin, as the 49ers lose to the Packers 38-10, and it doesn't get any easier as they return home following the game. They will be in Santa Clara for the week and then travel back to Buffalo next Friday, and they're going to be facing one of the best teams in the NFL and Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So this one against the Packers got ugly, and we will see. The different 49ers team is going to have to show up in Buffalo, or that one could get even uglier. So that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back on Monday with another video.